What's up, guys? Big day today. Got the big news. The new Toyota Supra 2020 has just been unveiled, and so I wanted to do a quick video to kind of follow up on the last video I did about the Supra leaks, and to kind of talk about what my thoughts are as a prospective buyer of this new 2020 Toyota Supra, and why I'm actually one of the few people excited about it. Now, when the first kind of screenshots came about from the reveal and the first videos kind of came about, I was a little bit taken back. I kind of knew from leaks what the car would look like, but I wasn't too big of a fan of how it looked. Mainly, I think it's because of the color. The way the red looks and how the wheels have the chrome and the black accent, I'm not too big of a fan of. And even the front of the car, I feel, has a little bit too much plastic. But then once I started looking at it more and more, and I saw the car in different colors, is when I started to think like, oh, okay, this car looks really nice. So that was only a presence. That was a presence. That was a pleasant surprise, and also I was really happy to find out about the price. I mean, the car is starting at $49,000, whereas the Z4 M40i is starting at about $65,000 for about the same level of performance. Now, one of the biggest downside I think to the Supra, and still like probably my biggest disappointment to this point, is the fact that it's coming with only 335 horsepower. The Z4 M40 comes with 380 horsepower, whereas this Supra has 335 horsepower, and I mean, it's putting 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds, so that's really impressive. Imagine if the car had 50 more horsepower, what it could do. I know 0 to 60 isn't everything, but you kind of get a feel of what it'll do in a quarter mile. So I was kind of disappointed about that, but at the end of the day, it's the B58 engine that's in, that same Z4 M40i. So with an easy tune, you can get that horsepower back. And if we look at what, Burger Tuning did with the JB4 on the B58, just a stage 1 tune gets you to 379 wheel horsepower. So it's not that big of a deal, but it would have been nice to have it directly from the factory, you know what I mean? I would much rather have everything set on the car. And speaking of things that need to be set on a car, one, wheels. This car is begging for wheels. I'm really not a fan of the two-tone black and chrome wheels that are coming straight from the factory. And also, like, the ride height. I felt like the car just sat really high, in the press demos and stuff. So I think with a drop and with the right wheels, the car will look really good. So yeah, so I mean, I'm excited. The price has got me hyped. The different colors got me hyped. The possibility of seeing this car, modded in different specs, with some wheel upgrades, with some suspension upgrades. I think that is really, something I look forward to. And I mean, just look at it in this matte gray spec. I mean, this looks good to me. It looks a whole lot better than the red. I don't know why a lot of manufacturers, whenever, they bring out a new car, they always bring them out in red. And I don't get it. I feel like it hides some of the curves. I really like that the 3/4 angle on this car. I think it looks really beefy. Coming from someone that was excited about, a Cayman as my one car, and really let down by the 4-cylinder 718, to see this car coming out with, just about the same amount of horsepower, but a much lower price, that's something I'm looking forward to. So just about as I was starting to get excited for my car, I went on the internet and read comments and stuff, and boy, are people mad. I mean, like, people are bashing this car. There's like very, very little positive reviews. Actually, I think like the only spot you can hear positive things about this car is if you go to the Super forum, the MK4 Super forum. I mean, MK5 Super forum, and there you have a bunch of people, that have been spying on the car for a while, and those guys are really excited for it. I think the biggest letdown people have is that there's a lot of BMW parts in here. I mean, I don't even know what Toyota really did to this car except for the body design. If you look around the interior, I mean, it's basically all BMW. For me, that's fine. I've had BMWs now for a while, and I really like iDrive. I really like everything, BMW has done in terms of interior. I think the engines are good, but a lot of people are really upset. I guess, I understand that we want, something new and fresh. And in that aspect, we were a little bit let down because, they're literally taking, pieces off of a 3 Series, off of a Z4, and they're just sticking them into, into the Supra. If you look at the infotainment, it's all iDrive, and I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it would have been nice to get something better. I get it. I think the biggest letdown, really, and I can kind of sympathize with that, is the fact that there's no manual option. If you look at this car, I mean, this car is basically screaming for a manual. It's small, it's lightweight-ish. That's another thing that I was kind of disappointed in. I was hoping that this car would be. I was really hoping for 3,200 pounds. I mean, the FRS, the GT86, is 2,800 pounds. Come on, we could have got 3,200, but instead we're about 3,400, which isn't the end of the world. But I feel like they could have if you're gonna make it small, make it light. But whatever, take what you can get, and 3,400 is not that bad. With all things considered. But yeah, a lot of hate on this car, and I actually think one of the other big things in terms of hate for this car is the fact that it is a different car than a predecessor, and a lot of people are really upset because the predecessor was more of a high horsepower car. It was twin turbo. It was heavier than this car, and it was bigger than this car, which is kind of doesn't make sense, because if you think about cars through the generations, cars tend to get bigger and heavier and more powerful. Whereas it's smaller, it's lighter, and so it's like, well, is this really a Supra? Is this a Celica? You know what I mean? And I can understand that. I can understand people let down, because of that confusion. But I personally think that if you set that aside, if you think about it like, okay, this is a Supra, but it's a new car, it's not the last Supra. If you don't look at the last Supra, just take this car for face value, I think you'll really appreciate it. And I think the reason why Toyota did this, and I'm going to show you, I put together a little graph, is because of where this car stands in their model range. Now, every kind of manufacturer has, basically product lines and how they want to align their cars. Now, Toyota said a couple years ago that they plan on having 3 sports cars. Excuse me. And they have that. If you think about it, Toyota has the GT86, which used to be the FRS, which is the entry-level sports car, 200 horsepower, 2,800 pounds. Then they had the RCF. Now, it's Lexus RCF, but Toyota and Lexus are essentially the same brands. So, take that for what it is. I look at it as the RCF is the big dog, and the Supra is basically slotted right under the RCF and in between the GT86. So if they went ahead and made a Supra that was 400 horsepower, 3,200 pounds, would that cannibalize RCF sales? I don't know. I think the arguments can be made, and I think the executives at Toyota kind of made that argument, and that's why they stepped away from that. But I really think that that's 2 completely different markets. I think the RCF is a lot more of a GT car, and I think the Supra is a sports car, an all-out sports car. And so this is kind of where a lot of people have a lot of hate with the car, because they were expecting for this Supra to fall more within this range and be a competitor to the GTR and basically kind of a 911 and M4 car. I think a lot of people were willing to drop $90,000 or $100,000 for a Supra. And if you think about, through inflation, the last Supra that came out was $50,000 brand new. And if you look at it and you kind of slot it with the GTR and stuff like that, it would basically be a $90,000, $100,000 car. So a lot of people are upset about that, but I think once the car comes out and people get to drive it, and so far, we've had a couple reviews about first impressions. People really like the car. I mean, if, I kind of look at it as more a long-term thing, and this is kind of where I see myself taking the car. I mean, if you look at this, come on, man, you can't say this doesn't look good. This, like, T37s, perfect ride height. I mean, I think this is badass, guys. I don't know, but we'll still have to wait and see. There's a couple things that I'm still kind of waiting to, figure out about this car. I think one is, will I fit in a car? I'm 6'2". If I put a helmet on, because I plan on, being able to take this car to the racetrack 4 times a year, and it needs to be, that sports car. I need to be able to drive it here and there. I won't be, commuting in this car, but I need to be able to drive it on road trips, 5-hour road trips to LA and back. Will I be able to take it to the racetrack? Well, how will it handle on the track? Will it overheat or anything? And then, yeah, will I fit in the car with a helmet? That's a big thing. Oh, and of course, how are the numbers going to turn out? I'm a big I like leasing a lot, and especially if I were to hop into this first year model, I would really like to lease this car. So what are the lease numbers like? Are the numbers like the M2 numbers, which are really horrible? You don't even want to think about leasing an M2. Or are there like Z4 numbers? So Z4, which is more expensive than this car, is about $600 to $660 a month. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I called a couple dealers earlier because I wanted to see if I could get on a wait list or, put down a deposit. And I got my name down on 3 wait lists. Apparently dealers were saying that they're not taking any deposits. Although BMW of San Francisco said they were going to have basically a bidding war for their first 3 cars. They have 2 matte gray cars coming in and 1 white car. And I think they're just going to be charging crazy market adjustment. Whoever comes in with the biggest offer, which won't be me, will, walk away with this car. But we'll see. I'm not too thrilled on paying even MSRP for this car. This is going to be a mass manufactured car. We're probably going to see them on the street, maybe like just a little bit less than, FRSs. I think a little bit less than 370Zs, because those are about 40,000. But we're going to see a lot of these Supras on the road. And yeah, if you're going to see a lot of them on the road, you ideally don't want to pay sticker for a car. This is a car that in a year from now could be had for 10 to 15% off MSRP. But sticker, I don't know. We'll see. There's still a lot of time to go. These are supposed to hit dealer show floors in July, and at least on my M235i is up in September. So we'll see. As for, my options right now are either this Supra, maybe a used D92 M3, maybe a 997.1, although I'm not too sure on that, or something else. Maybe I'll just, ride without a car for a little bit and wait for these Supras to calm down in pricing and, let the hype die down a little bit. But, I mean, just look at this, man. If this doesn't look good, come on. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you like the Supra? Are you in a minority? Or are you pretty much feeling like everybody else and you hate the car because it's underpowered, because it's basically made by BMW. The car is built in Austria. Actually, I wonder if I could do like European delivery on this car. It's crazy. But yeah, thanks for watching, and then yeah, let me know what you think, and see you guys in the next one.